No, good morning, everyone. I'm Crystal. I'm one of the agents with Sandra down here in South Florida, and I'll just oversee the chat today. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. I'll take notes, and then we'll get to all those, I think, towards the end.
Nice. Yeah, so usually we have Davies who helps me out in the behind the scenes, but she's at our ALC meeting today, which I am not at the ALC meeting today because I am here with you guys and I'm in Breckenridge. So thanks for joining us, Crystal. Appreciate it. While we're waiting, I still see people are jumping on, which is awesome. And I'm sorry, my dog is barking in the background. I think she sees a moose. Sorry about that. But just a couple of quick things. Wanted to just remind you guys of super exciting news for January's Luxury Zoom. We have Brady joining us. Woohoo! I know you guys are excited about that. I know you're all on mute, so I can't hear you, but I'll do it for you. Woohoo! We got the big guy. We got Brady joining us January, second Tuesday in January. And that's really it. That was the main thing I wanted to say, because that's super exciting. And we are ready to get started with our, I want to welcome Adam today. I think Adam, this might not surprise you, but this might surprise you that when I publicized today's event, I got so much feedback, like crazy amount of feedback about you. So apparently you're really famous. So congratulations on that, which is super cool. But seriously, I really did. I had a lot of people email me saying that they wish they could be here, but they had this or that or the other thing. You know, as we get closer to the holidays, it's a little more challenging, but great feedback. So you are definitely making a name for yourself out there in the referral world. And I hope after today, even more people know who you are. So for those who don't know Adam, he is in New Hampshire. He is the #1 agent in New Hampshire, which bowing down to you, that is something
very small state.
I can only, dream of at this point, but that's amazing. I met Adam through Gary Keller's group, where we tend to get together. We share, top things that we're doing and help each other out. So I'm super excited to have him here. I actually grew up in Massachusetts, so I know a little bit about your area, Adam.
Yeah.
Not as much as you, but I definitely enjoy the area there. He is on Lake Winnipesaukee. Did I say it right?
You did.
Awesome. For those that have not been there, you guys definitely should put it on your calendar as something to do. It is absolutely spectacular. When I was growing up in Massachusetts, we dreamt of going there all the time. It's absolutely beautiful with the lake there. So with no further ado, here's Adam. And Adam, share with us a little bit about how you got started in real estate. That's always a great place to start for, especially we have a lot of new people that just got into real estate. So it's fun for them to see what got you to where you are.
All right. Well, I grew up in Wolfboro, which is where I sell real estate right now. I didn't know it was a pretty cool place to live. I always thought that I would leave Wolfboro, go to college. I got a business degree. I worked at a consulting company for a while, and I thought my corporate ladder was going to go to, Boston and then, off to the races. But graduated from business school. I was working at that consulting company. I met my now wife, and we found ourselves always coming up to the lake. We lived in Portsmouth, which is about an hour south. And it's, the thing that happened was that company that I worked for went out of business, and we were going to get a Christmas tree with my parents. And I was on monster.com applying for all these different jobs, marketing jobs, different things. And Coldwell Banker was hiring. And I didn't really know too much about real estate. So I went in and had an interview. So this was the totality of my research into getting into real estate. As I went into Coldwell Banker, he said, "We'll hire you." So I was very excited about being hired. I went out, told my then girlfriend, but now wife, I said, "I got a job." And she said, "What does it pay?" And I said, "I don't know yet." And so they said, "Go get your license. We'll save you a desk." And it's interesting because I did take the test. Some of you have heard, but I did take the test on if you're going to be a good realtor or not, like personality test. And I scored the worst on that test of anyone that took it in 14 years. And the reason that I know that is I hired the office manager after, being in real estate for 10 years. He goes, you scored the worst on the test that anyone I ever gave it to. So, but it's turned out okay. So getting into real estate was almost by accident, and I didn't really have the skills that most luxury or top realtors have. Like, I'm more of a shy person. I didn't start doing Zooms or public speaking until I realized that it was because it would benefit my team if I did. So I just had to get over certain things and say, all right, go out there and do it and learn how to do it. So got into real estate coming out of a business career or consulting career in the hometown. So those two things really helped me out, but I did have some challenges in the beginning to get up and running.
That's great. I love that. I love that you had no idea what you were getting into when you went and signed up with Coldwell Banker. And I love that you said it was a job and you didn't have any idea what was happening.
No.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So tell us about some of the challenges in the very beginning. We'll get into more of the luxury part, but I just want to hear a little bit about the struggles you had in the beginning, because we do have a lot of people on here that are probably new and maybe they're struggling. They could learn a little bit from your struggles.
So for me, like I said, I'm more of a quiet person. So the networking was tough. Just some of the I went into I started at Coldwell Banker, did their quick start or fast start program, and the challenge is to talk to people, right? So I had a little Excel spreadsheet that I printed out 1 through 10, and I made it a point to talk to 10 people about real estate every day, and I would fill in their names and say, all right, talk to so-and-so today. And not every day would I have the 10, but, and I went in eyes wide open. I said, all right, I'm going to try everything. Like there is no salary in this job. I want to make it in this job because in Wolfboro, you can build houses or sell houses or be a doctor. Like there's no it's a second home market. I can't build houses and I didn't go to school to be a doctor. So this was kind of my way of staying in Wolfboro. My wife and I had decided we could work all our lives and then move back to Wolfboro, or we could do it now and figure it out. And that was me figuring it out. So at the beginning, I just went all in. I did farming. I did, I called all my high school friends. I started Facebook pages back then. I did the class of 92. I did any charity I was involved in. I create a Facebook group for them. So whatever the marketing of the day is, I try to lean in on. But it was just going all in, and I get one deal from one piece of it and then another deal from another piece of it. And so that was my first couple years. And then another big thing that I did is back then, there was not a lot of people that had single property websites or agent websites. And I knew there's 150 realtors in Wolfboro, usually 150 sales. So how are you going to be different from everybody else? So they'll hire you and not the other 149. So I went to a website company. I said, here's my resume. I don't have any money because I left a VC company that actually owed me 40 grand. So I came in with -0. But I knew I wanted a website. So I wanted to create, this was my first win-win deal, win-win partnership. I said to them, if you build me a website, because I can't afford it yet, I will give you 25% of whatever I make. So I treated it like a referral. So my first sale, handed them a check. So at the end of it, they built me 5 websites. They were doing cost per click advertising. I was #1 in my town, my 3rd year in the business. And I was getting so many leads, I actually referred out 6 million in closed sales. So you can think about how many leads it takes to give out to get to 6 million in closed sales in my 3rd year in the business. So that was one of my first experiences. All right, if I become on the same side of the table with somebody like this website provider, how do we get on the same side of the table? Then we can have a win-win relationship that actually produces more than if I was just a client, to them.
Mm-hmm. I love that, Adam. And a lot of people never learn that. They go through their entire career and they never learn that partnership with other people. And that is one of the big things that KW does promote with us, right? Is to bring our vendors in and partner with them. And then you're immediately a bigger fish in the whole pond, right? Because it's not just you there by yourself. You've got the backing of other people, and then they've got your back because they want to help you because you're helping them. And it's a a relationship that benefits both people. So I love that. And I love that you did that right at the very beginning. You didn't wait until you were established and you had something to offer back. You actually went in and started that right at the very beginning. So for everybody on the call that is a little bit afraid to speak to their vendors and ask them for donations or to support or sponsor, I think this is great proof that it works, that as long as you can show some kind of value, that they're willing to work with you.
It's
I
interesting.
love that.
I haven't thought of it in that way, but part of it was casting a vision, just saying, all right, here's who I am and kind of what I stand for, but this is what I want to be, and this is how it could benefit you. And it proved through in a couple times because I decided I wanted to have staging consultations for every one of my listings. So I'd come in and I wouldn't have to be the bad guy. So I talked to a stager and I said, I sell a couple houses a year, but I plan on selling a whole bunch more. I'll commit to you that I'll hire you for every single one of them if you come in and give me a deal on doing a consultation. So we worked out a deal. She came in. So it became part of my value prop. And as I grew, her business grew, and then she started charging me more. I'm like, wait a minute, you remember our deal? But there was another example of that. I'll think of the other one. But yeah, the win-win relationship. The person that said that I scored the worst on that test, once I joined Keller Williams 10 years ago, she called me up and said, Adam, I want to work for you. And I said, well, I can't afford you. And she said, I'm not worried about that. I want to come work for you, and let's work out a way that if you're successful, then we can be successful. And that's kind of how I said I can do it in that way. So we did a salary plus, per transaction. She just retired, but she does drive a Range Rover right now. So it worked out for her. But it was because I had a vision. I was creating a world that was going to be better in the future, and I wanted other people to be in that world.
I love that. I love how creative you are. And you're very marketing driven and creative. Those kind of go together anyways, but in terms of building a bigger business, you're definitely very creative, and you're thinking outside the box and always thinking of how do we get to that next step. So I love that. So talk us through a little bit of, okay, so I started off, I didn't have anything. I started selling a few houses. At what point did things kind of explode for you?
Well, I had two kind of step ups. The first one is when I did the deal with the website company. We're starting to get people in my town called me AdamDow.com. I was being known for something, and that was my goal. Is all right, how am I different? That as realtors, we have to decide, how are we different? Why should our friends hire us? Why should strangers hire us? Because if we can't answer that question, then we can't help others answer that question. So that was the first one. So I was a single agent back in that first class. They also said, all right, do farming, do all of these certain things, but also become an expert in something. And I really took that to heart in growing up on the lake, not really realizing, some of success is you get lucky, but you put yourself in positions where you can get lucky. Because I was doing activities and because I was going all in on things, I said, all right, I know the lake more than maybe other people that didn't grow up on it. My best training was in my grandfather's Boston and Whaler. I knew where the sun set. I knew where the fishing spots were. And this was information that was hard to find for somebody new to the area. And those people happened to be retirees from Boston driving up for a second home, trying to buy multi-million-dollar houses. So people say, how did you get into luxury? It's because it's what I focused on, because it's what I knew. And so that was great. I sold my first multi-million-dollar home in my first year in the business. I've sold almost 300 houses, over $1 million lifetime, and our average price is more like 500,000. So it is a luxury. Some people, that's their starter homes. And so getting to know the market, getting to know a specific area was super important for me, because it allowed me to be an expert in something, but it also allowed me to not try and learn everything. Sometimes when you go smaller, you get a bigger world. So that was the first one. It was all right, getting into luxury, doing the website. And then I joined KW in 2012 and I did the team. So that was kind of, all right, let's take this success through others, because the joke was me being on vacation on the phone, like my kids taking pictures of me. There's Adam with his, at the beach on the phone. That wasn't a life I wanted to lead. So when I got introduced to the team concept, it was fantastic because I could now get back to that win-win relationship, making money as others made money, and that's kind of how I'm bent anyways. So having the team come in and having that ability was the next kind of, all right, this is really cool. And in luxury, it's a
Nice.
little bit different. It's a little harder because your name's on the sign. So just go down that a little bit. We had to think about how are we structured? If they're calling for Adam and they get Sharon, what does that look like? So we came up with, instead of buyer agent, we just called it area expert. So
Mm.
instead of assigning or transitioning somebody, we're telling them, all right, this is the responsibility of this person. So if I answered the phone and said, oh, where are you looking? And said, well, I'm looking in the Meredith or Moultonborough area, I can say, oh, my area expert for that area is Kristen. And they're like, oh, great, I want to talk to the expert in the area. So I've got my responsibilities, they got their responsibilities, just versus we're all realtors.
I love that. I love that. So to just kind of, I want to just summarize a little bit really quick. So when you first started in real estate, you did like everybody else did. All the shiny objects, right? Like you tried this, you tried this, you tried this, you tried this. And then at some point you said, okay, I'm going to focus on this website and I'm going to make this my one thing. Right. So we're going back to, we all should have one thing that we're focused on. We have multiple things that we do, but one thing that we're mostly focused on. So your one thing became your website, which is awesome. And then I think you said in 2012, you went to KW just to check it out. And I actually watched an interview that you did where you went into a little more detail about how you were like, you know what, I'll go, but I'm only going to check it out. I'm not moving. I'm not changing. Like you really went in with, I'm just going to learn, but I'm not moving.
Yeah, I told the OP that I will go with you to Austin because it's warm and it's February and I'm in New Hampshire. So as long as no expectation of me going to KW, I don't like your logo. It was the old logo. I will come with you to Florida. I mean to Texas.
Right. I love that. I love that. So then you went and you saw all the great tools that we have and things that you could use, and you decided to make the move. Yeah. And I got to be honest with you, Adam, that's exactly the same reason I came to KW, was to grow a team and to not be on the island by myself. That's the way I like to describe it. Because like your vacation, you're on the phone all the time without the team, whether you're a team member or a team leader, that's your life. So once you join a team or create a team, now your life changes because you've got other people to support you. So I'm right there with you on that one, Adam. Totally agree. And then I love that you created a process. So when people called in and you had a team, it wasn't you trying to fumble around and figure out, how do I get people off of me? How do I get them onto the expert, onto that other agent? So thank you for sharing how you did that. I'm sure that a lot of people on this call could use that information as well. So talk to me a little bit about how you became, we know you're the expert because you've been there a long time. You grew up going to the lake, being in that area. But how do you explain that to your clients? Like, how do you get that information out there to them? And maybe how do the agents that represent you on your team, how are they using that information to transfer in their listing appointments?
So there's two things. Like one thing that our term is our elevator speech. Like when somebody says, how's the market? If I hear them say, oh, it's crazy or busy or, some generic answer, it's like nails on a chalkboard for me. And the one story I would tell is when I was first in the business, it was like after church and we we're going to go out to lunch, and I knew that Steve was going to be there, a guy named Steve Menifee, and he was a corporate executive that turned into a corporate executive CEO trainer. So his clients were all these Fortune 500 clients. And I didn't want to go there and seem stupid, right? So I did some research because I wanted to have a good answer, because I knew he would ask me how's the market, because everyone asked me ask us how's the market. So he was making his way around the table because he's like a leadership type, just asking all of these questions that he wasn't really listening to the answers, just being nice. And he came to me and said, "Hey, Adam, I hear you're in real estate. How's the market?" And I went in and I said, "Well, Steve, the average price in Wolfboro is this, and this year it's this." And, just kind of did a very short but thought out and specific answer to his question. And I could see him like he was going to move on to the next person and do his question for them, but he came back to me. He's like, "Wait a minute, this young kid actually gave me an answer that I'm impressed with. Let me dig into it a little bit." And I ended up listing his house in the upcoming years, but that was his first interview question of me. So now with our team, we have, what's your elevator speech for the week? Like, when somebody asks you how the market, and I'll do it on the conference calls, I'll do it in the hallway. So that's just kind of one thing that we do. What was the original question? I just went down this whole road.
The original question was, I know you know all the information, but how are you
How do you get
getting people to know that? And how are you getting your people to also, relay that information, which I think you're saying you're practicing the elevator speech, which is making sure that your agents know and that they can communicate it to the clients.
So the other part of it too is like,
You've got some good nuggets. I'm just going to write some things down.
No, the other part of it is on the buyer side, or in the buyer or in the networking side. You've got sellers that will ask you how's the market. Everyone asks you how the market is, but I try on the team to design. I say, don't design a world you don't want to live in. Like, so if you want to lead generate in your network, so we're having marketing meetings. That's the meeting I just had before here. And the agent was funny. She's like, because we've been talking about different ways. I mean, if the market's down 40%, we have to increase our effort by 40% just to make the same that we did last year. So she's like, "I really don't want to do door knocking." I'm like, "I didn't ask you to do door knocking. It's like one of the options." So she was so afraid that I was going to start saying, "Let's do something that you're uncomfortable with." I'm like, "No, we're going to decide, what are you good at?" Because she goes to the dog park with her dog every morning. I said, my thing is how can you use that thing that you're already doing? Like, how can we dig into that a little bit more? And another part of our business plan is our people to know list. So if you think about a piece of paper and you say, "All right, you're new to the area, here's 100 people to know in Wolfboro." We use that list for lead generation. We use that list for our networking, we use that list for our calls. And I said, if you go to the dog park, just tell them, "Hey, you're updating your people to know list. Who in your world have you got 5-star service from in the last month or so?" Now you're providing value to them because they might want the list, but now you've got a very warm call as a result of going to the dog park, because you can call the person on the list and say, "So-and-so gave me your name as somebody who's absolutely fantastic at what you do. Can I include you on my people to know list?" Like, so you're designing the world that you enjoy, that you might already be in, or maybe a world that you want to be a part of, to be a part of your business and just be more intentional around it. So when I got mine is golf course. Like, I like to go golf, and sometimes I have to golf with strangers. I'll go to the course and try and find a twosome that's out there, a threesome that's out there, and I'll just say, "Hey, do you mind if I play a couple holes with you? I'm doing something that I like." And we actually just talked to a guy that I met on the course. He's an investor in Albuquerque, and he wants to buy a whole mobile home park here in our area. But it's because I was doing something I like. I just happened to bring real estate into it, because everybody asks you how the market is. So you just got to be ready for the question.
I love that. And I love that you're doing it with your team. So I'm definitely, I wrote that down. So I'm going to be adding that. Crystal, remind me. We'll start doing that as well. I also like the dog park idea of you're not having the agents say, "Hey, do you know anybody who's looking to buy or sell real estate? Hey, are you looking to buy or sell real estate?" You're actually developing a relationship first. And how can I help you with my top people? You can help me with your top people. And then it builds from there. So I like that. That's an approach that I have not heard before. So I like that a lot. I had another thought, but I think I lost it. I was at the dog park and, I know, I was going to ask you. So Adam, I know when I first talked to you about doing this interview today, one of the things you said was that you're not really the most outgoing person, which I can feel that. I'm not either. So as you're going and doing all these things and talking to people at the golf course, is that easy for you?
No.
I want everybody to hear that. Let me ask it again. Is that easy for you?
No, for me, I was coaching, like I had success, with the website was great because it forced conversations. People would actually call me and I'd have to talk to them. But everybody kind of has a website now. And so I was getting coached. I had a MAPS coach and I knew that I probably should do more public speaking or, do certain things, even at networking events. He's like, all right, just get very small. Next time you're in a class, raise your hand. You've been doing this a while. You might have something, or he said that I had things that people would want to hear. So just raise your hand and answer questions. So that was my first step. It was just, all right, I'm going to just start being in the class and raising my hand. And eventually it got to where I think, I spoke at Bill Tao, it was a couple thousand people in the crowd, which is it would have been crazy for me to think about that like 5 years ago or however long ago. So once I get past, can you tell me your name and where you're from? And it's just answering questions, then I'm fine. But even though I have a short name, it's still hard for me to say. It's weird.
Well, I totally feel your pain. I've been there as well. So I just want to commend you for pushing through that and being able to do it now. And I know it's something that kind of stays with you, even though you break through it and you're able to do those things. It's still not your natural personality. So it's impressive that somebody like you, who is a little bit more introverted, has built this entire business, this huge business with, how many agents do you have on your team?
So we have about 20 agents, 5 full-time. Last year we did about 300 transactions and about over 200 million in real estate, which was great.
Wow, congratulations. That's amazing. So I think, one of the messages I want everybody to hear is that this is a guy who was a little quiet, maybe a little bit afraid to speak in front of people. And look at him now, 300 transactions in a year. And you've hit over 1 billion in sales, haven't you?
Yeah.
1 billion, guys, 1 billion. That's amazing. Wow. All right, so let's jump into the true luxury side of the business. Let's talk a little bit about that because I know that's what most people are actually here to hear about, the luxury side. What would be like your number one tip for anybody in terms of trying to break into luxury?
Identifying influencers. So for me, I broke into luxury not knowing what I was doing, but luckily it was the path because when I did the team, I had to reverse engineer what I did, because when I first did a team, I was like, I'll just get all these people and they can go sell luxury, but I wasn't really thinking about what that was. So I said, all right, how did I do it? How can I train to it? What is there's lots of different ways of making money in real estate. There's lots of different ways of being a luxury realtor in real estate. So this is kind of my way of breaking in is knowing the right people and gaining influence with those people. So we have a tag in our CRM, we use Brivity, that says top 10 influencers and top 100 influencers, and then top 100 people to know. So those are 3 main categories. And we talked about the people to know list. So the reason I've got a top 10 and a top 100, not everybody's got 100, not everybody has 10, but it's more for the category. So my first influencer was a guy named Bruce Burrell. Actually, I sold that house. It was a spec house for 3 million for Bruce. I'd probably done 10 houses over $1 million, and his buddy that he introduced me to, I've done over 10 houses for him that are $1 million. And the reason that I point him out is it took me 3 years to earn his respect in his business. He dealt with every other realtor on the planet. I had to just persist in earning that influencer relationship. And we define influencer, it's not like social media influencer, it's they have influence in the community, and then they use that influence for you. Like if somebody says, who should I sell my house with? They'll say, oh, get a list with Adam. So we have the top 10, and those are the most important people. And it's actually easy to keep in touch with them because you might play golf with them, you might be in a club with them, you might serve on a board with them. So it's easier to keep in touch with your top 10. The top 100, the reason I have that list is because sometimes I'll have somebody stop me in the street and say, hey, Adam, or they call me up and say, Adam, so-and-so told me to list my home with you. They said, you're great. I have a house that I want to sell. And then I'm in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh crap, I haven't talked to so-and-so in 2 years. Shame on me. So they're out there helping my family earn a living, and I'm not even paying attention to them. So we wanted to get them into our CRM labeled so we could decide when we want to talk to them. So, basically you've got a cadence top 10, we're going to talk to once a month, top 100 once a quarter. But we can at least sort by our top 100 and say, all right, when's the last time I talked to somebody, and let's get caught up, So in luxury, it's super important because when you're breaking into luxury, if you can earn that influencer relationship, you're taking the reputation needed to get a listing off of yourself and putting it on that influencer. Like if they give out your name as somebody to use, that's gold, because they're using their currency in the market to get you, or their reputation, or their integrity, or what have you. They're taking all of their reputation and putting it on you, it's gold. So for me, I think the best way to have a solid luxury business is to create those relationships in the community that will give influence to get you the business. So we actually have a tag in our CRM: have relationship or earning relationship. So if like for me, I said, I got to know Bruce. I used to lifeguard with his daughter. I knew he built these big, beautiful homes. His daughter married my other buddy, or my friend Tim. So I had this in. So I'd send emails to Tim. Hey, could you send this to Bruce? Send it to Bruce, send it to Bruce. And I had this website that was impressive because I, made that deal. And so eventually the communication went from Tim to Bruce, from me to Bruce. And I remember the day that I stopped by, he was sitting on his dock with his friend Chris Peterson. And I stopped by boat, and his other realtor was just leaving because he had just stopped by. And just to say hi, but that was the day that I got both of them as clients. Chris told me, he's like, do you know where I live? And I kind of fibbed. I usually don't, but I'm like, but I went in my boat. I went screaming around to find out where he lived so I could see what his house looked like, and I actually listed and sold that house. But so for luxury, for me, it's all about my sphere, but more importantly, all about my influencers.
Love that. Now, as you've grown and your team has grown, are your team members creating those same kind of relationships? So is there like 2 tiers of that?
Yeah. So one of the biggest value propositions I have, for people on my team is I help people establish influencer relationships, and sometimes I give influencer relationships. We actually have one of our goals in our business planning is influencer lunches, like where we call up and say, I encourage my agents to have a notebook with a list of questions that they can ask every single person that they take out to lunch, like an influencer lunch. Because if you think in a year, if you do 12 influencer lunches, they're usually very successful people. And if you ask those people the same questions, that's a pretty cool book to look back on in the year. So, and the people are appreciative of the fact that they're being asked for this thing once you've explained it. And then they might say, oh, who else have you gone out to lunch with? And you can, so it's a cool little thing that if you're not paying attention to it, it's a very back burner type thing. But if you do pay attention to it and do it well, then it can grow your luxury business.
That's great. And it sounds like you have a process and a procedure around it. It's not just a haphazard, like, oh, who am I going to meet today or tomorrow? Like, you actually have a plan in place for yourself, for your agents, so they can follow the plan and make it work the way you expect it to work.
And you said it at the beginning, like creativity and marketing, that is my procrastination. That's what I prefer to do. So all of these systems, all of these things are because I had a team and I couldn't just say, because I'm a throw them in the deep end type person. So I had to force myself to take a step back and say, all right, how can I train somebody to be on our team and be successful on our team?
Mm-hmm. I love that. So for some of these people on the call, they probably don't have that first person, that Steve, I think you said was his name,
Bruce.
that was your first person. So what would you suggest for people that, maybe they don't have a lot of money to go to the golf course and get started and they don't have a Steve? What do you recommend for them?
So it is research. It's like if you want to be in a luxury business, it is a lot of I see Mark Benson on the call. He's a luxury person, but I'm sure there's people in Naples that he knows which crowd that you need to be in to get some of these contacts. And there's probably other realtors in there. Like, so it's kind of like farming. This doesn't happen overnight. So you have to think about your community and think about what is luxury in your community. And then where do those people hang out? Or where do the gatekeepers, like, are there financial advisors or, different things? So it's intentional effort on where can you break in there? Maybe there's a charity board that you can volunteer for. Like I was on the board of the Nick. The Nick is just a playground. That's a very nice playground. They got a lot of charity behind it because their board is super powerful. So I got on the board. So I got all of those relationships and just started adding value to the board. I always, I said, I've got a newsletter. Can I advertise this in the newsletter? Just trying to give examples of where I shine and using it for them. And a relationship's going to pop up. And so once you get the first one, then you can ask them for help to get the next one.
Mhm.
And then, so it's like the people to know. The best script is you start with one person and say, hey, I'm creating this list. You're definitely on the list. Who's one person that I can call that needs to be on the list? Now you get the warm conversation. If you go 100 deep on the people to know list, that's a pretty cool list because it's all by recommendation. And now it's 100 new people in your world. So it's the same with the influencers. To say, like, Bruce was fantastic. He would take me up to Bald Peak, which is a very exclusive club. I never, ever thought I would be able to join because it's super expensive. But I just paid the bill last week. Like, it's a bucket list thing for me. And so, but he used to take me up there and he would say, all right, Adam, I got these two people that you need to know to play golf with us this afternoon. That's like gold. I mean,
Wow.
how many?
And it's great when somebody else is bringing them to you.
And if you
didn't even know you needed those people until he told you that, probably.
Yeah. And for me, he understood it because he was a business person. So I think sometimes if you get into a mentor-mentee relationship where you're sometimes as realtors, we try to be end all, know all, do all, but come from a place of questions, come from a place of how can I add value to you? And there are people out there that like to help. You get a good feeling from helping others. So if you give somebody that opportunity to help you, one, it helps you, but two, they're going to like it. So might as well not, don't feel bad about asking for help.
Right. No, I agree. I think that it feeds their soul to help you. There's some people out there that may not be that helpful, but the majority of people, they want to help and they want to be part of your journey and they want to see you succeed.
Yeah.
Love it.
And you get to play golf sometimes too. So I mean, don't design a world you don't want to live in. So don't, like, if there's a hobby out there and there's luxury around it, go after it.
Yep. I love that. So give us, besides the usual, we always hear about the attorneys and, probate and this and that, but do you have any that are, maybe a little bit off the norm, like people that have been very influential that aren't necessarily in a job that we hear about all the time?
Dog walkers, cleaners, like the people that are around the, handyman, handy people, and just kind of because I think people gravitate towards the mortgage people and the insurance people because it's easy, because they want to be, in touch with us. So I think if you go after the folks that, even caterers, trying to think of some other ones, just services that people use, window washers. Like I was doing some calls earlier this year, and the window washers, they're way too busy, but it's just good for me to talk and touch base, and because usually if the economy's good, the window washers are busy. So an easy way to make your calls, like say you've established the list and you're doing your calls. I did a bunch of calls a couple weeks ago, just saying, you're in the community, you're a market indicator for me, you know, as a window washer. I'm sure during the downtimes, maybe that's one of the first things that people cut. You know, as your phone started to diminish a little bit, or are you still going gangbusters? Like, so you're inviting them into your profession. You know, you're giving an example of how you're being professional by doing market research. Like I called a bunch of the towns, I mean, a bunch of the shops in the downtown area. Had a fantastic conversation with the owner of Black's, which is a gift store right in the center of town. And she loved the conversation. She's like, "This is awesome. Thank you so much for calling." And also I was asking her, like, what was the traffic like? Meaning like, or the foot traffic in there. And it was a very rainy summer for us. So actually that was good for her. And then, you know, I called another business and the rain wasn't so good for them. But all of these conversations were, it showed me as not just a real estate agent, but as somebody who wants to be an economist, as somebody who wants to be ingrained in the community, somebody who cares about what they have to say. So, you know, one of the other things that I say a lot on my team is don't waste a real estate conversation. So I'm always calling accountants or lawyers or people. Like, we have a lake, so there's a lot of shoreland protection rules and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of like it when the rules change, because that's a real estate conversation that I can have with lots of people, and they're all the people I want to have it with. Hey, John, did you hear about the new shoreland regulations that are, you know, further prohibiting tree cutting? You know, so if you have a really good conversation with somebody, duplicate it over and over and over and over again, especially with influencers and people to know.
Right. So what I heard was that there's multiple layers of influencers. There's the people that are in touch with all the wealthy people because they are wealthy people and that's their friends in their sphere or people that work for them. But then there's also this other whole group of networking, like you said, the dog walkers, maybe a hairdresser, some of those people that are in contact with so many different people. So I think that was, you know, kind of like you're doing both sides of the coin at the same time, right? You're looking
Yeah,
for
sometimes you have to get to the gatekeeper first, like, because you don't have a good example is we have a private racetrack that's about half an hour north, and my brother is a member up there, and he took me up on a guest day, and I sought out the marketing person. I said, who's kind of in charge of the sales? And I got a bunch of his business cards, and I called up some people I knew had really nice cars that might want to drive them fast without the fear of getting a ticket. So I called them up and I said, you know, would you be interested in it? And then I made the connection. So now I've done this favor for this marketing person at the racetrack, because he's going to have luxury people call him directly. And if they ask about houses or neighborhoods, he might give out the person that just gave him 3 contacts versus somebody that he hasn't talked to in a couple months.
Right. Love that. You've got a lot of great connections. Like you're like really good at connecting. That should be your name from now on. You're the connector. I love that. I'm going to shift a little bit now and open it up for questions. I've seen a few things pop up in the chat. And Crystal, will you help us with starting from the beginning and kind of reading some of those, and we'll pick Adam's brain a little bit here?
Yes, definitely. So someone asked if you could give an example of your elevator speech.
So specific. So in 2006, in the state of New Hampshire, our 12-month rolling average of homes on the market was 12,776 homes. Last year, this year in February, our 12-month rolling average was 1,800 homes in the entire state of New Hampshire. You know, so I was trying to get across the fact that 12,000 versus 1,800, we don't have many homes to sell. And usually if I said low inventory, they'd be like, oh yeah, I've heard that a bunch of times. But if I say 12,000 versus 1,800, it stops them in their tracks. So every other realtor that said low inventory is now second fiddle to me, because I have a very specific, statistic that they can resonate with.
That's great.
Yeah, that's really good. Okay. Another person asked, how can they better identify the influencers? So when you're talking about the top 10 versus the top 100, and they also carried on to say, how do you start that relationship? So you gave the example about golf, but maybe you have another suggestion of how they could go after those people.
Yeah, so charity boards is a really good place to start. Once you get to help people, you're marketing professionals, so maybe you go to the school and help teach a class. I've done that before in marketing or in the business or in the trade school. So it's finding the pockets of people that you can volunteer in and earn the relationship. So the first meeting, you're not talking about real estate, you're asking how you can help. So for me, I happen to play golf, and I had to train to what I did. I wouldn't say by accident, because I have to go to the golf course with the mindset of talking to strangers, not just playing with the same three people. So you have to do the things and be intentional about the things. But I think a charity like on Sunday, the last thing I wanted to do was get out of my comfortable clothes and go to we have a maker space, which is where they share like tools and embroidery machines. It's kind of a cool place where everybody gathers and does things, and it's a charity. And we helped them buy the building. I donated back the commission from that because the appraisal didn't come in where we needed it. But I was there, sitting in the back, not talking to anybody. But they were coming around and they were talking about it, and it was kind of cool because they thanked me publicly for all the strangers in there, just saying, hey, one thing that not everybody knows is Adam actually gave back the commission for this. So if you're there, if you're doing good things, lots of times you'll get recognized for it. And the natural relationships that you build, the authentic relationships that you build through helping other people, those are the best ways to have it come in return. And it's not that you can't. Actually, I went to a charity thing with Ben Kinney and Jay Papasan. It was talking about, not only making $1 million, but giving $1 million. Like, we can use our platforms to help a lot of organizations and things like that. So if you come from a place of contribution, like our charity event is a 1K. Some people will run 10Ks, some people will run marathons. Like I 1K was more my speed at the time. So we basically met at my office. We walked 0.6 miles, and I bought everyone a beer. And that was our event. It took like literally 20 minutes. It would have been 15, but we had a Twinkie stop in the middle of it. And we raised 10 grand for charity because all of my vendors wanted to be on the 1K shirt because it was kind of a funny thing. We gave out, actually, I still have some of the stickers. We had those circle stickers, like with 1K. So we've done that like 6 times. So it's being in the community, but really researching where are those influencers. And you can ask, if you find one, they know where the other ones are.
That's great. Okay, another person asked so boldly if you would share a copy of your questions for the influencer lunch.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we'll figure out how to get that, I guess, maybe through Sandra, and then share it to the people that participated.
And it should be a little bit yeah. Oh, questions as well. It should be specific to you too. Like you wanna have it pretty generic. Like here are a couple examples. What was your service or business in which was a major factor in you getting to where you are today? So, how'd you do it? What was your key to success? Tell me about a business setback. How did you recover? Tell me about a big risk that you took that paid off. And so I'll just throw these in the chat so you can see them. And you'll probably change them over time or what have you, but it's just to get the conversation going. And it's nice to have them be standardized so you can have that year-long influencer lunch thing.
Love that. It makes it so easy. It really breaks it down and makes it easy. And of course, depending on what their answers are, you're going to customize it a little bit towards what they say. But for those who maybe are not that creative with the questions, that absolutely gets them started.
And notice the last one. who do you know that would be a good person for me to take to lunch?
Love it. And does everybody usually have an answer to that?
Yeah. Everybody, I mean, people, most successful people want to be helpful, want to. I was in the golf cart with somebody, and I'm kind of in the mindset to ask influencers questions. So I asked like what was a business setback, and he was talking about these different things, and then I was like, so what was what was a good success? And he said, well, I sold my business for $600 million. And I kind of forgot who I was in the golf cart with. Like, so it was a really cool thing for me. Is like, all right, this is a habit for me. Like, and you come from a place of genuine interest, and that influencer, for me to get to be in the golf cart with him, there's like 4 influencers in front of him that I had to earn relationship with to get into that golf cart.
Wow, that's so cool. You kind of gave me the chills there on that one. I mean, there's been a lot of working to get to that point.
Yeah.
A lot of, and you have to be genuine in order to get to that point. I think that's something that we need to be clear on, is that these are relationships you're building. This isn't just, you're not just stepping on people to do this, or they wouldn't be giving you this kind of feedback and getting you into a golf cart with that kind of person.
I've got 2 member guests. One's in Orlando this winter, and one's in New York next spring. Which is there's a really nice golf. One's at the Four Seasons in Orlando, and one's right next to Liberty Park in New York. And these are relationships that are 10+ year relationships of me staying in contact with them. And I'm very much looking forward to getting out of New Hampshire to playing in those 2 tournaments.
Nice. And I love that you've like literally folded your work life and your personal life. So you've got both of them working together. So how can you not like your job when it's based
right,
literally your personal life too, the things you enjoy? All right, Crystal, you got any more questions?
Yes, there's a few. Okay. What are your key marketing strategies for high-end homes?
I think that exposure is not a huge problem in real estate marketing these days. Like, it's going to go in the MLS, it's going to go on my competition's website, it's going to be on my website. So the more you talk about what you're going to do marketing wise, if it doesn't sell, the more they're going to ask you to do. So I like to talk about my key strategies. One of the biggest things when I first got to KW, I looked at, all right, how is KW different, right? So that you're hearing that as a key thing for me. But one of the keys that we had of being different is we didn't have a duty desk, that if you had a walk in or a call in, we have my listing, my leads. Like, that's our corporate philosophy. So I tell people, wherever Keller Williams can control the phone number, they're going to send the clients to me. And the reason that you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, the benefit to you is, if somebody's on the duty desk and they answer the phone, that means that you spent a lot of time and energy getting your house ready for photographs. That means that I spent time and energy and money to take the photographs and make the phone ring. And if somebody on the duty desk answers the phone because they're interested in your house, a couple of things can happen. One is they've never stepped foot in your house. One, they could have been in the business for 2 weeks. And then the result can be a couple different things. One is they try to talk about your house, but they're only spitting back what they already see on Zillow. Or they start talking about one of their listings. Or they start talking about another company's listing. Because if anyone else tries to answer the phone or answers the phone, they want to sell a house. If I answer the phone, I want to sell your house. So the very fact that the my listing, my leads is a cultural thing and a thing in KW, that's the way that I'm different from other realtors. That's the way that I beat Sotheby's. That's the way that Maxfield is the local company. Prudential, or now it's Berkshire Hathaway, that was a company I left, and that was a pretty rocky exit. And so like I came out of downtown Wolfboro, which is one of the best real estate offices in the area. And I used to write the listing presentations for that office, and I'd have a big picture of the office because it's a fantastic office. So I was competing with a lot of people, and it really was Keller who. There was only 3 of us agents. Our market center was an hour away. So I'm not going to beat those companies with these, silver bullets of marketing things. I had to beat them on business principle. And so this My Listing, My Leads was one of them, because wherever Keller Williams can control the phone number, they put my name and my phone number, because when I answer the phone, I'll say, that picture of the sunset, that picture doesn't even do it justice. The backyard, that backyard is so much beautiful than what I could try and capture. Like, the business process starts at a different point if I answer the phone versus somebody at the duty desk.
That's a great tidbit you just gave us there. That
PW people. Yeah.
that was worth this whole phone call just right there. Thank you.
So I would caution people to get too wrapped up in the flashy objects. Like that has to be a given. You have to do professional photography. It's probably a good idea to have you at least have a stager come and give their professional opinion on it, and you can do that relationship that, like I talked about. But I would say exposure is really not the problem. I'm gonna blast it to the world. That's my line. It's like, I talk about 3 Ps, actually 4, but preparation, price, promotion, and professionalism. Preparation is their job. They got to get their house ready. They've got to do the projects that, preparation is their job. Promotion is my job. And I just say, I'm gonna blast it to the world. Price is market driven. I think I can get you higher because of my professionalism. I think I can get you higher because of your preparation. I think I can get you higher, because of my negotiating skills. So you can say, and I think that luxury, if you commit to them that let's try price and let's try promotion and preparation, your job and my job. And if both of those don't work, we'll talk about price. But I'm not going to come in here and try and beat you up on price before we've tried both of those. So it's all about the how, the strategies, what has been successful in the past. A line that I like to use, it's not what I'm going to do, it's what I've already done. I've sold $1 billion worth of real estate. I've negotiated with appraisers before. I've negotiated with everybody on the street before. Like, it's all about the practice versus the promotion.
Wow, this call just keeps getting better and better. I don't think we can get off at an hour. We need 2 hours for this one. Crystal, you got any more?
Yes, actually, just for me, real quick. It was preparation, promotion, price, and
Oh, I didn't talk professionalism. Like I remember Bruce telling me that he didn't use a certain agent in this town because you never knew if she was going to come up with sweatpants with a mustard stain. Like, it's not like you don't have to have a super fancy car, but you have to have a clean car that might be a little bit better than you would buy if you're going to be in luxury. I remember talking with a builder in a driveway, just talking about cars. Like, he's like, I don't want to drive too nice of a car because then they're going to think I charge too much, but I also don't want to look like I've never done this before. So we kind of were naming the brands that we wanted, builders and realtors. And then we're like, but we want owners that drive Mercedes or Porsche, and the client came up in his Mercedes. So it's kind of a funny way, but professionalism, both in our dress, in what we drive, in our promotional material, like it all has to be super professional.
great. Do we have time for 2 quick more questions? Okay, somebody asked, what do you do for holiday gifts if you do anything for your clients? And then someone just asked, who pays for staging? Is that the client or is that on part of your
expense? Yeah, so staging, I've got that deal. I actually have a couple different stages because we're so spread out, but we usually do $150 or $200 for a consultation, but we don't do the actual staging. And I don't even go to those appointments because we're trying to maximize time. I trust they're giving the right advice. I say, if you call this person and say you're listing with the Dow Group, they'll send me the bill and they'll come over at your convenience. And then what was the other question?
Holiday gifts.
Yeah.
So I've done Yetis. I like to tie my gifts into some charities. Like, we bought these cutting boards and all of the proceeds go to a teen addiction. We do pens, we do hats. Like, I'm kind of a swag. I've got, swag. I got my Dow Group stuff on. When I was first in the business, I always wore a golf shirt with my logo on it. And it wasn't KW, or it wasn't Prudential. It was like, I have a shirt that said AdamDow.com on it because people were calling me that. But I wanted people to ask me how's the market because I was ready for it. And, lots of times it was because I had a shirt on.
Love that. Thank you for sharing all of that. We are at the end of our hour and we want to be respectful of everybody's time, but Adam, thank you, thank you, thank you. This was amazing. I personally took a lot of notes, so I'll be calling you with questions. Let's tell everybody how they can get a hold of you and what is your territory? I know you're not just on the lake, you kind of spread out, right? So can you tell them where you cover?
Yeah, New Hampshire. So if you think about New Hampshire, if you know New Hampshire, we're kind of on the east side of 93. But I am very much on a recruiting hunt for area experts, and that's my thing. Is like we are looking for you to represent us in luxury and in residential all over the state. So if I don't cover the area, I do know who's great in the areas, and I give out people's names a lot. I've got referral partners that, if I can be of help to them, they can be of help to me. So if you think of New Hampshire, if I don't do it, I'll find you the right person. My website's thedowgroup.com or adamdow.com. And I saw somebody say, like, I pay for the consultation on the staging, but I don't pay for the actual staging. That's why I don't want to be a part of the conversation. I don't want to be there when they're having the conversation. I'd rather them
You don't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
That's smart, very smart. Okay, so you guys heard it here. He's looking for great agents to work for him in the state of New Hampshire, and he's looking for any and all referrals you have for any part of New Hampshire. He will take them, and if he doesn't cover that area, he will help get you to the right person. So when you think New Hampshire, think of Adam. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. We'll see you in January. Brady Sandell will be our guest in January, so don't miss that. And happy holidays to everybody. If I don't see you or talk to you between now and the end of the year, happy Merry Christmas, happy Hanukkah, happy New Year, all that great stuff. And if you need anything, our phones are always on, and our email is always open as well. So whether it's me, Adam, or anybody else we've had on here, we'd love to hear from you guys. All right. Well, thank you, Adam. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank
See you, Mark.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.